All right, let's talk about WandaVision, the thing that's been occupying my weeks for many weeks now. Probably a lot of you guys too. I didn't really rush this. I wanted to sit and think on it, watch some episodes again, really reflect, and I'm going to go into spoilers. This whole thing is completely spoiler-ridden, so be prepared if you care. If you're on social media, chances are it's probably been spoiled anyway for you. It's been vicious out there for stuff like that. But I got a lot to say. Especially considering I had a lot of high expectations for this. Obviously, number one, it costs a lot of money. In the past months, Disney and Marvel have spoke about, Disney specifically has spoke about going so all in on shows and Disney Plus stuff. And this is Marvel. So I was like, all right, let's see what you got. And the promise was, I was pretty enamored with the promise and the setup. There's a couple of things I have strong issues with, but ultimately I had a really, really good talk. Is it up there with some of my favorite Marvel television stuff, like Daredevil, the first season of Jessica Jones, stuff like that? No, I mean, it's different. It's like totally different, of course, but this is like MCU-ass MCU, and I don't really have a problem with that. I think if you're watching this and you're not into that, you're not into that. I think at this point, like, the jokes, the vibe, just the premise of MCU, you're either into it or you're not. I have been from the beginning, and WandaVision has been really interesting, especially as someone who read comics, has an idea of where it could go, but the thing I like about these movies and shows is that I have my things in my head, and it could go that way, or it could do its own thing, and they like to do both, and WandaVision plays with fire a little bit. I'll get to that in a minute. But like right off the bat, dude, and I know you've probably heard other people say this, but like one of my favorite things about this show was the early episodes and the TV stuff, the whole sitcom thing that they set up and lovingly paid attention to in a lot of ways. I am a child of the 90s, and like that was when Nick at Night kind of had its new peak, which is essentially it was like a channel or late night programming that would play old ass stuff. So I watched a lot of I Love Lucy. I watched a lot of Brady Bunch. I love that shit. Gilligan's Island. So I'm like, I don't know what was with me. God. But as someone who at least appreciated that stuff, I was able to pick up on a lot of the nuances and stuff just from the shift from the first episode to the second episode, having A camera, B camera, little tiny details like that. The first set was like the Dick Van Dyke Show, I think. So there's like, it was really cool to just see that progress, and from the intros to the music to the style down to the camera angles and the set designs. It was just really fun. That was all well and good. Like, yay, I'm a TV fan. Ha, I know more about pop culture TV, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. The thing with that, what I really liked most about these episodes is the sense of dread. These early episodes had this, like, unsettling, like, oh, what's going to happen? What is going on here? Like, they set the mystery tone really well in a way that was not shocking. I don't really have the word, but it just kind of gives you a pit in your stomach. You have a rough idea what's going on. I, as a fan, had a stronger idea of what's going on, but still not the whole picture. But what you do know, and what your mind kind of guesses, is like, oh boy, this is not good. Wanda is doing some things that are not good. These people are hostage. It's like, yikes. The mystery felt creepy in a way. And that makes me excited for future things that I'll get into. But that was something that the later episodes kind of missed, and I really enjoyed that in the beginning, and I think that's what roped in a lot of people, especially even people who aren't really into the MCU stuff. And then ultimately it just kind of came more MCU stuff, which I like. Another thing I really enjoyed, though, was like the playing along every week, so to speak. I'm not really into now. I'm very much of this age, and I'm like, damn it, just give it to me all at once. Come on. But with WandaVision and with specific things throughout the last 2 or 3 years, I really like this whole, like, it comes out and then everyone's like, oh, wow, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I loved, like, the water cooler conversations. That was a thing with, like, the era of HBO and stuff like that. And now it's kind of a thing again with WandaVision, The Mandalorian, stuff like that. I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, but WandaVision really seemed to set it up to get people talking every single week, and just kind of, like, jumping in that conversation with friends, going on social media and seeing some freaking really good memes, not gonna lie, down to like one thing I want to highlight the Agatha all along intro thing, which was really cool because it was reminiscent of the Munsters, which the whole time I was watching the show, I'm like, are they ever going to do like the Munsters or like the Addams Family? And then bam, Agatha, of all people, it would be perfect to do a Munsters type of thing. But that jam, I want to link it. I don't know if I can really show it here, but somebody, like a music producer, remixed it into like a trap hip-hop remix, Agatha All Along. It's been stuck in my head ever since. And just things like that, down up to like most recently Vashon. Things like that about WandaVision, I really, it kind of like added to the experience. It's nice to enjoy it in this weird little pop culture bubble, so to speak. But the best thing about it for me, like, and I think the main purpose for it and what really worked was that they were like, hey, let's give a show to fill out Wanda and Vision. Someone watching the movies, when Wanda and Vision came together, I was like, yeah, of course, obviously. But for other people, like some of my friends, my wife, like they don't really know. They're like, why? That was weird. Why does she want to have sex with the robot man? Okay, like they gave you a little setup, but never really any true deep character moments up until like the end. So here they're able to kind of fill in the blanks and give you more and really solidify that relationship without backtracking, which was really impressive. They were able to do it forward in the timeline and really give you more meat to that relationship after one of the two people in the relationship dies. And I thought that was good. That and the whole coupling of like the theme of the show is Wanda grieving and dealing with loss. I don't think it totally nailed it. I don't. But there's a couple little things with the ending that I want to nitpick. But put all that aside, it was a great thing for Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany to shine. Elizabeth Olsen got a lot more emotional depth. Really cool to see her. I just like her. She's really likable. One time I saw her on a plane and I didn't say hi to her. I was too nervous, but I walked past her and I don't know. And then Paul Bettany, I just love the guy so much. So it was really great with what they did with him here. Even down to like the White Vision and what he did with that. Actually, like seeing White Vision, I was like, holy shit, Paul Bettany should play Agent 47. That would be, if they ever tried a third time to make a Hitman movie, call Paul Bettany and give him a bald cap, because, I mean, he's kind of bald as Vision, but just like the tone when he's making the mad face, his voice, obviously, but his range, I would love to see that. Also, the whole thing with Monica Rambeau, I really liked. Kat Dennings, I didn't need, sorry, but Monica Rambeau, even though I think she got the short end of the stick by the end, I loved her build, her origin story. Found it kind of interesting, and I thought it was a good way to weave it in as a side plot for something that could become cool later. That's not just like this, like, ooh, hidden Easter egg thing. Like, no, they made it a plot, and I like that. It also had child actors that I didn't hate, which is like a first for a while. Like, I like what they did with those characters, and knowing what they could become. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but they were good. And not to mention the fact that the show kept calling back to Age of Ultron, as someone who I think enjoyed that more than the average person. Like, I stood up for that one. Pretty much if fans know what I'm talking about. It was cool to see Age of Ultron nodded to here and there. And I thought they were actually going to do more with that, but they didn't. And let's just dive into that. Fan service and expectations. It was really fun speculating and thinking about what was going to happen and all these fan service moments and stuff. I think it can get to like a crazy level where it can hurt your actual enjoyment or expectations of the show. Me personally, the way it played out, I had so much fun every week being like, oh, dude, talking to my friend being like, oh my God, do you think it's like Mephisto? Do you think Reed Richards is going to show up? You think Doctor Strange is going to show up? You think insert any other even crazier, wilder theory gonna happen? And that was so much fun, especially with the Pietro Quicksilver stuff. But then as the last like 2-3 episodes started to pan out, I started to prepare myself and go, this isn't going to go the way you think. Thanks, Luke. So that, for me, at least I was fairly prepared, but damn, I gotta say, like, there's the whole conversation like, oh, fan expectations can go too far, blah, 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 blah. There's even, reports of them slightly changing things because of fan expectations. It doesn't seem to be as big of a deal as people were freaking out. Read past the headline. But still, I think specifically with Evan Peters, Pietro, Quicksilver, they fucked around hard, and for me, it like blew up in their faces. Like, you know, you could have had the show and just kind of fan speculated the whole way, like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? But the Pietro thing took it to the next level, and it was like one of my few issues as like a deep, nerdy, awful, insufferable fan. That kind of set the stage for, holy shit, going back to what I said earlier, oh man, Disney is going big on Disney Plus shows. That means Marvel must be going all in on this. This could be the debut of something insane. This could be the introduction of a multiverse being open, which they could still kind of do later on, but they didn't totally do it here in an entertaining way. Or like, oh, the X-Men are going to show up, or they're going to introduce mutants or anything like that. And like, yeah, like still you could connect things, but the show didn't really go there. It ultimately just tried to be cute. Still, that being said, I don't want to harp on the negative too much, just because I did ultimately really enjoy the show. I wonder where it's going to go, you know, with her being a central role in the new Doctor Strange film, which I'm very excited about. Number one, because Sam Raimi is directing. Number two, because I love Doctor Strange, which also, it was kind of his job description to show up and be like, what's going on here? But again, that's a problem that Wanda needed to solve herself and learn from as a character. And like she kind of did. This is another weird thing. The fact that I think what would have been more interesting for her, she did such like a heinous thing, right? Like taking all these people hostage in this town. It's fucked up. It's terrible. Number one, she put her hood up. She walked past all those people when they snapped out of it. Didn't even be like, hey, sorry. Like nothing like that. But besides that, also a lot of this was built around her grieving, mourning for Vision. And she created an accidental Vision, and I almost would have liked to have seen her kind of have some punishment, but also learn from being forced to kill Vision again. That could have been a really interesting plot point. That's where I thought it was going, as some sort of like weird tie-in to Age of Ultron and then Infinity War, but they didn't do it. But on the flip side, they did have Vision fight Vision, and I thought that was really cool. It was a brief moment. It was full MCU CGI, but then when they stopped, and then they were like, let's have a robot debate about philosophy. I loved it. I was like, I can't believe they're doing this. I'm glad they're doing this. For Vision, yes, that makes sense. That was great, but really, the show, it started dark, and it didn't end as dark as I was hoping. The after-credit scene with Wanda in the log cabin, that's a little dark. That's a little weird. Number one, the shot into the cabin, I was getting like crazy Hulk vibes with Ed Norton Hulk. I was like, holy shit, what are they? It felt like almost the same, like eerily the same from a scene. But the fact that she's doing that, she's motivated by getting her children back, which could lead down a dark path. That path that, you know, it should have gotten this dark during the show. We still don't know for sure. She could essentially become a villain in a lot of ways. Agatha was like, hey, you don't know what you've started. Also, Scarlet Witch now, essentially this being an origin story of Scarlet Witch. Just side note, really cool to see her with a costume. Awesome costume design. I think she looks badass. Excited to see that like full form Scarlet Witch finally. But I wonder where it's gonna go. I don't think there was like a too definitive of a thing here. She's not a villain. She's training up to seemingly get her kids back, be more powerful as Scarlet Witch. Is that going to lead her to be at odds with other MCU characters? I don't know, but I'm having fun talking about it and thinking about it, and I think that the MCU stuff boiled down into a show, and those moment-to-moment things really worked. It worked for me. I'm really excited to see it if it does with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is very much more my speed as a Bucky, Cap fan, Brubaker fan. Let's go. But I get, you know what, can I just go back for a second? If anything, with this next movie, with the Doctor Strange movie, with Wanda's involvement in the MCU going further, if they can capitalize on that dread, that scary, nasty part of her powers, if anyone can do it, maybe Sam Raimi can, just saying, that could be sweet. Is she going to be the MCU villain? I don't know if they'll do that. I think she's still too, like, cool and mostly had, like, a positive thing but up until now. So, yeah, anyway, that's just horseshit speculation on my part. I can talk forever about this, if you can't tell. So, I'm going to go, but I want to hear from you guys. in the comments. Let's talk about WandaVision. Most importantly, what was your favorite era represented? I love the Malcolm in the Middle thing. I like the Office thing. I want to know what your favorite thing was. Do you have the same issues as me? The same comments as me? Do you wish that like Kat Dennings, Randall Park's characters got a little bit more because they kind of got half-assed at the end? What are you thinking about WandaVision? What are you thinking about MCU shows on Disney Plus moving forward? I want to talk about any of this stuff with you guys because I'm just trying to talk about stuff I love here. So if you appreciate that and you like what I'm doing here, clicking the like button does help. I appreciate that. And if you're new, maybe consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell. I don't spam you. Only a video or two a week. But that's it, folks. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. See you next time. Subscribe because video games.